Hello everyone, I'm Jane from Trinergy. Today we have Ramesh with us in Shanghai. Welcome to Shanghai.
Thank you so much. These days we are looking yoga as a pill, as a tool to heal. I know many people, they're like, Ramesh, I'm very stressed these days and someone told me I should do yoga, and I'm like, you're really in the wrong path. Don't start. Because if that doesn't help, you'll blame yoga. I'm like, okay, yoga doesn't help. So you should not really see yoga as a pill you take and you heal yourself. You should see it as a long-term practice where you move every day, you breath every day, but not every day is the same day. You do it differently, you feel more, you resonate with yourself, you spend more time with yourself. So yoga is not something you do, you become yoga, which means it's not something you do 1 hour a day, but what you learn with your teachers or what you learn in the studio with your instructors, you apply that in your 24 hours or 23 other hours. So it's not something you do 1 hour, but something you apply in your everyday life. So you don't do yoga, you become yoga. For an example, when you are working in a kitchen and if your knife fell down, don't bend your knees and take the knife. Just go bend forward, take your knife. What is the point of being super flexible but not using it in daily life? Or using laptop in a peasant pose? That's what I always do. It's super fun. Normally when you use laptop, you get lots of tension on your hips, on your spine. But if you are working on your hip and spine at the same time using laptop, you can use your laptop, watch movie, Netflix, hours and hours, that's fine. Really fine. So using it in a lifestyle, that helps. I'm based in Kathmandu mostly. I do teach asanas. Physical body, as a human, to survive physically, we need to give certain supplement to the body, like food or drink. But there is something inside body which is not only satisfied with the food, which we call channels, chakras, or emotional blockages. You can give different names, it's just a name. So to balance that thirst, to balance that hunger, as we need food to survive physically, we need sound or the vibration to survive our soul. So maybe combining different tools of yoga together. I like to combine things. I chant mantras, I do breathing while doing the asanas, and I use singing bowl as a tool sometimes, bring some yoga nidras. Sometimes I even bring people like hike and yoga. So we hike up in the mountain and up we do yoga or just simple breathing. And just to feel how it feels to breathe in the city and how it feels to breathe in the nature. I grew up in a very traditional family, at the same time very modern school. So to find that way, it was really hard, but once I found my way to find modern and the traditional world, that was like the key for my yoga journey. And then I went deeper and deeper where I studied Sanskrit, I studied art, and I could balance everything together. I was chanting together with my father when I was 3 years old. And one of the main reason was because my father would do it every day. So as a child, you see your parents as a superman. So whatever he was doing, I was like, wow, it's amazing. Even as a baby, you really admire what they are doing. You see doing all these cool postures, and when you can do better than your father, then you're like, wow, I'm doing it, and that really motivates. I went deeper into practice when I was 11 years old. So every time I would be free, I would go and hang out with the holy man, monks, or the saints, So I already would know so many things about spiritual worlds. When I was around 12, 13, something struck me and I was like, wow, nobody really wants to learn these things. Why? And instead of ignoring it, I was like, I wanted to know why nobody wants to study. So I started studying Sanskrit, which in Nepal nobody studies these days, only few people. And it's like a dead language, nobody speaks Sanskrit. But I was like so drawn by it because I wanted to know the meaning of the mantras which I was chanting. So I was like that baby who grew up in Asia, who learned how to question why. Obviously my why was not always coming with the answers, but I wanted to question, and that I think it helped me to be where I am today and understand a little bit more than normal Nepalese, about their own culture. If you translate Sanskrit in Sanskrit, Sanskrit means something beautifully made. So krita means to create something, sam means in a good way or positive. Be able to pronounce things properly, you have to activate certain part of your body. And when you're speaking Sanskrit, when you're chanting in Sanskrit, you have to bring your energy all the way down from your navel. And when you're talking about channels and chakras, we're always saying that you have to awake or you have to balance your Muladhara. So when you know Sanskrit, you're already activating that because sound has to come from there. So when it starts from there, it goes all the way up and it comes through your mouth. Whereas the other languages, we use lots of our chest, throat, nose. Most of the Asian languages, we use only throat and nose. French and Hebrew, we use like lots of chest and neck movement, throat. So I think that makes it already very interesting and powerful, where your whole body will be harmonized and channelized just by having normal conversation. We have to work from the body first. Obviously, it's not only asana practice, but you have to go through the asanas. Because in Sanskrit, actually, asana has a beautiful meaning. It means being in a posture where you're comfortable for a long time. That's the meaning of asana. So in Nepal, when there is a guest, we say, oh, please, asana. It's like, make yourself comfortable in whatever posture. Asana practice should be a practice where you can stay on the same position for a long time if you want to go in a meditative practice. So imagine you want to do a meditation for 5 minutes, but you cannot stay straight for more than 30 seconds. So in that case, you have to start with the asana so you can maintain your body first. And when you come out of the ocean, you cannot say, oh, I know entire ocean. You can say, oh yeah, I was inside the ocean. So it's the same thing here. Yeah.
So what would be your some traveling tips for people?
It's pretty easy in Nepal since everybody kind of talk English. So if you don't English, that's a problem. Being nice and smiling, it always helps in Nepal because people are super friendly. So if you smile, they smile back. But if you are traveling there alone, then you should always learn how to negotiate. You see some person and you're like, okay, it's $10, but actually it's $4. And traveling wise, I think it's good to go and discover. And if you're into yoga retreat and stuff or personal spiritual practice, this is definitely a place where you should go and give time to yourself, because mountain really helps you to understand how small you are. And sometimes knowing how small you are is the greatest thing you can learn in life. So for me, yoga practice, it came from very tantric practice. It's a technique where you learn how to experiment on yourself, right? Whereas you're always experimenting on others, modern science is always experimenting on rats, rabbit, you just be who you are and see how far your body can go. And once you understand how far you can go with your practice, then your real practice begins. We often say that asana practice, it helps to build your ego. It's very hard to stand on your 2 legs, and suddenly after a few years of practice you can stand on your hands. That ego arises, and that is when that strike is happening and you're like, wow, actually I'm not anywhere. And that is where your real journey begins. So asanas are helping us to understand that our body is very limited, and no matter what, we have limitations. But our mind, our consciousness doesn't have limitations. Like when I talk about ego, I always say if you translate the word ego to Sanskrit, it has a word called ahamkara. And it's such a beautiful word in Sanskrit, which means doing something for yourself, which makes sense to you. And that's not a bad thing, You should always do things which make sense to you, or where you can feel proud that, yes, I did it. Mm-hmm. So it's not a bad thing. It's just the word we think this is bad and this is good. So same with the asana. It's not about doing crazy back bending. It is good if you can do, but if you cannot do, so what? And then that's why many people, they get frustrated. They're like, no, it's not for me because I'm not flexible. And actually those are the people who have high potential to go beyond body and understand more. And then they get frustrated because they're like, no, I cannot do. And I'm like, no, come please, And I'm like, come.
Yeah. Come and try it. You'll see.
Always about trying.